Picture this. It's almost midnight. You're alone in a glass tower high above Manhattan, and the only sound you hear is the low hum of a computer terminal that never ever sleeps. And on that screen, there's a number. $3.1 billion. Now, let's be clear, that's not your money, but it is your problem. It's your responsibility. And you're the only reason it hasn't been swallowed whole by the machinery of the state. Because see, in this world, at this level, you don't just manage wealth. No, you design the very architecture that lets it exist, that lets it grow, and that helps it last for generations. So let's walk through exactly how that architecture gets built. Every journey has a starting point, and this one begins with a huge realization. You start out like everyone else, a fresh-faced analyst right out of college, probably fixing charts for meetings you're not even allowed to be in, and you think you get how finance works. And then, one day, you meet someone, a mentor maybe, someone managing a 10-figure portfolio, and they pull back the curtain and show you that the game played by the 0.1%, it's a completely different sport. This slide just nails that mindset shift. For them, selling isn't winning, it's a failure, it's an end. And tax? Oh, tax is not a certainty. It's just another variable in the equation, one you can engineer. So how in the world do you engineer it? Well, this is the part where you stop thinking about returns and start thinking in terms of structures. You begin building what's called a capital lattice, basically a complex web of legal and financial entities, all designed for one purpose, to protect and compound wealth relentlessly. Okay, so first tool out of the toolbox is the IDGT. Now, the name sounds complicated, but the concept is beautiful. It creates a one-way mirror. For income tax, the assets are still yours, but for the estate tax man, poof, they and all their future growth are already out of your estate, gone. And then you've got the GRAT. This thing is an absolute masterclass in transferring wealth. Let's say you've got an asset that's about to explode in value. A GRAT lets you hit the pause button on its value for tax purposes right now. And here's how that magic trick works. You put the asset in, you freeze its value, and then every single penny of growth from that second forward, it flows straight to your heirs. No gift tax, nothing. It's an incredibly elegant and powerful piece of financial engineering. So when you put all these pieces together, these trusts, these clever accounting strategies, the real art form emerges. It's about making your taxable income vanish on paper, creating huge paper losses, all while the actual cash, the real cash flow from your assets, keeps hitting your account, completely untouched. Now, all of this builds up to the single most powerful idea in the architect's playbook, what I call the refusal to subtract. This is where you learn that the truly wealthy don't just try to minimize tax, they avoid the taxable event entirely. I mean, just look at how a normal deal works. You've got this huge $280 million gain. Awesome, right? But then you sell, and boom, the government steps in and subtracts $80 million. That money is just gone, vaporized. It can never compound for you again. But remember, for an architect of capital, selling isn't ending. It's a failure. So you have to find another way, a way to get the cash you need without ever selling the asset. Instead of selling that $280 million asset, you use it as collateral. You structure a massive lending facility against it. You literally borrow liquidity into existence. Why? Because a loan isn't income, it's not a taxable event. So you get $190 million in cash ready to deploy tax-free. And here is the absolute genius of this move. Your original $280 million asset, still yours, still growing, still compounding away. You triggered zero tax. And you have a fresh pile of $190 million in capital to put to work. You have refused to let anyone subtract from your capital. It's the ultimate power move. So once you master this, the scale of the game just changes. You graduate from private families. The meetings are no longer in New York, they're in Geneva, they're in Zurich. You're now operating at the sovereign level. And at this scale, the entire conversation is different. Nobody, and I mean nobody, talks about beating the market. That's child's play. The real discussion is about acquiring critical infrastructure, assets with near-permanent lifespans that control the basic costs of living for millions of people. And look at what we're talking about here. Not stocks, not bonds in the traditional sense. We're talking about 99-year leases on global shipping ports, 40-year stakes in the companies that make fresh water, holding the actual debt that funds the country. You're no longer playing the game, you're starting to own the board itself. But to build a machine like this, a machine with that much influence, it comes with a price. A deep, personal price. I mean, think about this career path. In less than 20 years, you go from being a junior analyst to literally advising central banks on global liquidity policy. It is an absolutely meteoric rise. But those things, privacy, normal friendships, trust, they weren't just lost along the way. They were traded, actively exchanged for a seat at the table. Your world shrinks. It becomes transactional. You are incredibly powerful, but you are also just a component in the machine. And then, one night, you have the final realization. You look down from that glass tower and you see him, 23 years old, walking through the doors of the lobby, the next operator. He thinks he's about to start a career. He has no idea he's just the next part to be fitted into the machine that you helped build. You see his entire path laid out before him. You know exactly what he's going to have to trade away to get to where you are now. And as the sun starts to rise, and the markets get ready to open, you're left with just one final question. Was it worth it?